I thought that I would find a substitute family because I didn't get along with my own.
I also know that I was manipulated and I was deceived, both into joining the group and into staying.
I know that our family went through terrible pain when our daughter withdrew from us during those 6 years.
They want to exploit you for their own enrichment.
Why do they do this? And could my child get involved?
It can happen to anybody.
Let me go to someone and we'll try some mind reading with you.
Bob Fellows is a professional mentalist magician who presents his magic and mind control workshop in high schools, colleges, and universities, churches, and synagogues.
Could you open the book to any page at all? Look at the right-hand page, the top line, go all the way over to the right, and look at the last word on the line. I'm getting an M, is that correct?
No.
An H?
Yes.
E?
Mm-hmm.
There was the E, R-E, and there's the other E, and that's why I picked it up first. Is the word here?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. You see what happens when you cooperate? Okay. There's no inscription in this ring, is that right? Nothing I could tell about you from this? And we don't know each other?
No.
Is that right? Could you think of your birthday? I'm seeing you born in the early 70s, is that correct? Thank you very much. Here it comes, I'm getting the picture now. Could you come and stand in close to the center of the stage here? Hold it up so everyone can see it. It's a flower, but it's kind of a tall, skinny flower with kind of a round top like that. Very much like this flower. We got it. You're a very good sender. Thanks for coming up here. You did a good job. You must have ESP. Thank you.
Fellows demonstrates how vulnerable everyone is to manipulation in many areas of life, such as sales techniques, alcohol, drug abuse, and abuses by destructive cults.
But actually, everything that you've seen me do is the work of a magician. Don't need to get in an argument over whether there is such a thing as ESP, but it's just that we can be fooled no matter how intelligent we are. And in the same way, people can be fooled by someone who has any kind of ability that they don't have. So the similarity between watching a magician and watching some sort of cult leader is that there's a point at which you say, wait a minute, this person's doing something I don't quite understand, and it gets you hooked. And you say, I'd like to know more about that, and it draws you in.
On November 18th, 1978, Reverend Jim Jones, the leader of a cult called the People's Temple, ordered his followers to drink Kool-Aid laced with cyanide, a deadly poison. Those who refused were shot by Jones's guards. 911 people died, 276 of them small children and teenagers. The mass suicide murder took place after California Congressman Leo J. Ryan visited the cult settlement called Jonestown in the jungle of Guyana in South America to investigate complaints about it. Congressman Ryan was also shot and killed on the orders of Jones. A shocked world tried to understand how this could happen. How could someone like Jim Jones gain such total control over people? I'm Charlton Heston. Unfortunately, destructive cults with powerful authoritarian leaders like Jim Jones are still around. Many people believe a tragedy like Jonestown could happen again with today's cults. When you have a leader with absolute authority, followers who submit completely, the philosophy of the ends justify the means, then you have a recipe for disaster. There are no accurate statistics, but experts estimate there are presently 3,000 to 5,000 groups, and that 6 to 10 million people have recently been involved with cults. They say that many cults target young people in particular. What is a cult? A cult is a group showing excessive dedication to a person or an idea. The leaders of the group use deception, unethical manipulation, and mind control to recruit followers and to keep them in the group. These coercive tactics are used to advance the goals of the leaders while harming the group's members, their families, or the community. Let's talk a little more about the harm cults can do. They hurt their members physically or psychologically. They disrupt and sometimes destroy family relationships. Cults harm society because they're authoritarian and anti-democratic. There are 4 main kinds of cults. Some claim to be religious groups. There are therapy and self-fulfillment groups that claim they can help you with your personal problems or help you be a better person and fulfill your potential so you can have a better life. Some cults are political, and there are commercial cults, such as management training programs for businesses. There are many varieties of cults, but most use the same kind of deception, high pressure, and manipulation to get people to join them and stay in them. Let's visit a student lounge and see how a cult recruiter might use deception and manipulation to try to get someone into a group.
Hey, I read that book last year. It's tough. Looks like you have a lot of work to do. You must be under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I'm swamped.
School can sure be hard to deal with sometimes.
Right.
I'm Jennifer. What's your name?
John.
You're concerned about important issues, I can tell, John. I belong to a discussion group that talks about these things. We're getting together tonight, John. Come along with me.
I have a lot of work to do.
Come on, what's one night out of your life? We really need great people like you in our group, John. We discuss politics, too, like how to improve the world.
Yeah, it sure is a mess. But I don't have much time to worry about that. My parents are nagging me to get good grades. They want me to get a good job, be a big success, you know?
God, John. So many people are starving. Homeless, you mean you'd rather go out and make a lot of money than help them?
Well, no.
We always have a lot of fun, too. We have a party afterwards, great food, and I'd really like to get to know you better, John.
A party would be fun. I could use a break.
Great, you're coming. I can't wait for the others to meet you, John. They're going to love you, John.
Is this a school club?
Yes.
What's it called?
We don't really have a name. We're just a group of people who care about what's really important and want to make the world a better place.
What's really happening here? I'm Ron Loomis, Director of Unions and Activities at Cornell University. Let's examine more closely the conversation we have just witnessed. The cult recruiter is using deception, pressure tactics, and mind control. John found it difficult to resist this pressure and was letting Jennifer control the conversation and him. Let's see how Jennifer did this. Jennifer is pretending to be a student at that school. She probably is not. Jennifer tells John how great and terrific he is and how much the group needs wonderful people like him. The cults call that love bombing. Did you notice how often Jennifer repeated his name? This is flattering. It makes the person feel very important. Jennifer was flirting to make John think she's interested in him. She looks right into his eyes. Jennifer is pressuring John to come that very night and to meet the group right now. She's not giving him any time to think it over or to check it out. Jennifer is forcing John to choose between two options which she presents to him as if they were mutually exclusive choices. Either meet the other students now or miss out on this wonderful opportunity forever. In the same way, she narrows down the options of either helping to improve the world or to build his own career. In other words, either be a good person and help others, or be a selfish person and don't help others. Jennifer does not tell John the name of the group or what it's really like. In fact, she lies when she says it does not have a name and that it's an official school club. Some groups use front names. Jennifer plays on John's guilt for wanting to say no and for wanting to get good grades and be successful. Jennifer paces herself and makes it appear that she shares John's goals. She goes along with him just enough to give the illusion that he is making the choices. But actually, Jennifer is molding the choices and is steering John towards her goals. We've just seen a recruiter at work in a school lounge. But this is just one place where you might be approached. You could meet a recruiter at any number of public places, at a shopping mall, in a fast food restaurant, at a sporting event, on the beach, at a concert, in an airport or bus or train station, at a youth hostel, or even at your job, on the street or in a park, in front of a library or a post office, in a church or synagogue or other religious organization, on a campus, on school grounds, or in a residence hall, at a meeting or a rally concerned about politics or social issues, on a military base or in a nursing home or hospital or drug or alcohol rehabilitation center, at a hotel or other locations offering self-improvement seminars or classes, even in your own home, by a window cleaner, a maid, a babysitter, or a home health care worker. Be alert, be cautious, and use common sense.
William Goldberg and Lorna Goldberg are clinical social workers who counsel former cult members. Jim Guerra was attending a prestigious Ivy League university when he was recruited into a group known as the Garbage Eaters. Laurie Schaffler was recruited 2 weeks before she was to begin college in her native state of Washington.
Jim, for over 10 years you traveled around the country, living in deserted buildings in the woods and eating out of dumpsters. How come you joined?
Well, I thought that they had certain absolute answers to end my confusion. I was looking for a more complete spiritual experience. I was a student at a very high-pressure university. I had all kinds of very stressful work on me. I was kind of deluged with the amount of work I had to do. And even though I joined, I was forced to stay. And the reason I stayed is because they made me afraid to leave. They told me I wouldn't be saved if I left the group for a job or to get married or something like that, to live a normal life.
How did you come to leave, Jim?
Well, I left when I realized that they didn't have all the answers. And I guess at that point, I'd seen my parents only 2 times in over 10 years.
And I left when I realized what cult life was doing to me and my 3 children. At the age of 5, they send the kids away to schools and they're separated from their parents. They had arranged a marriage for me with a man who I didn't like, even. And I thought that I would find a substitute family because I didn't get along with my own. But I found that the peace and the security that they promised me really didn't exist.
It seems that you were both experiencing the normal stresses of growing up, and you were in a period of transition.
Transition times are times of particular vulnerability to the appeal of groups like the cults. It can occur when we go away to college for the first time. It can occur when we lose a love relationship. It can occur sometimes when we lose a parent. Anytime you're in transition, you're particularly vulnerable to the appeal of the cults.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I was definitely vulnerable, but I also know that I was manipulated and I was deceived into joining the group and into staying.
And so was I, very severely deceived. And really, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Louis Jolyon West is a professor of psychiatry at the University of California, Los Angeles, and the former head of the Neuropsychiatric Institute there. He's a pioneer in the study of mind control and thought reform and is known throughout the world as an expert on these techniques.
Totalist cults vary, but typically, once you're in, you're discouraged from questioning and thinking critically. You must accept the word of the leaders. They make you feel guilty if you do question or argue. Your environment is often controlled, cutting you off from friends, family, school, previously held beliefs. They want you to become dependent on the cult. Some provide a poor diet, poor health care, little sleep, and long, exhausting hours of work to make you physically weak and lower your ability to think clearly. Subtly, your self-confidence gets undermined, and your self-image or sense of identity is changed. The leaders control channels of communication. They cut off or put down outside sources of information. Then they bombard you with what they want you to think. You become dependent on the group. You're told that you won't be able to make it without them. Maybe you'll be hit by a car or get cancer or go insane, or a family member will be harmed. You become convinced you can solve your problems or be happy only by staying with the group and by accepting its answers. They use strong peer pressure, playing on your desire to be loved and accepted. The leaders may promise rewards if you obey them and punishment if you don't, but they alternate harshness and leniency in order to confuse you. The leaders manipulate language, giving special meanings to words that only insiders understand. This is to make you feel like you're part of a special, important, or elite group, and that outsiders are inferior, dangerous, or doomed. They may use techniques such as meditation, chanting, speaking in tongues, self-hypnosis, reveries, visualization, or controlled breathing exercises, anything to put you into a trance-like state of mind and be easily influenced. You have to confess your shortcomings, mistakes, or misbehavior, sometimes even if these things never really happened. And meanwhile, your time and activities are tightly controlled. You don't have much privacy or energy or time to think because you're too busy doing monotonous, repetitive tasks or other cult-related activities. The leaders try to control you and who and when you can love, and even your sexuality, everything about you. They want to exploit you for their own enrichment, their own power or grandiosity. If they succeed, you will declare your loyalty to the cult and to its leaders, rejecting your old values and way of life. Without realizing it, you will have been changed into a person who is being controlled by a totalist cult.
John Alston speaks to young people and adults about the importance of self-esteem and of taking control of their own lives.
At times, life is difficult and many people want quick and easy answers to what are often complex problems. But no matter what anyone promises, there are no absolute, easy, quick, fixed answers to the problems found in the human condition. I always become suspicious of anyone who makes promises of total solutions offering peace, joy, and harmony. They all try to convince us with good, compelling stories, stories full of paradise and utopia. But in reality, it takes hard work to translate your ideas for a better world into reality. The key to achieving success comes from doing the work necessary for self-development, bringing awareness and experience to life's challenges. It is important to know when you are most vulnerable to being pressured, for that's when you must summon your inner resources. Remember, if you don't control your mind and your life, somebody else will. Let's go back to the recruitment scene we saw earlier to see how by asserting himself, John resists Jennifer's strong pressure politely but firmly. The first part of the conversation is the same as before, but you'll soon notice the change.
Hey, I read that book last year. It's tough. Looks like you have a lot of work to do. You must be under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I'm swamped.
School can sure be hard to deal with sometimes.
Right.
I'm Jennifer. What's your name?
John.
You're concerned about important issues, I can tell, John. I belong to a discussion group that talks about these things. We're getting together tonight, John. Come along with me.
I have a lot of work to do.
Come on, what's one night out of your life? We really need great people like you in our group, John. We discuss politics, too, like how to improve the world.
Yeah, it sure is a mess. But I don't have much time to worry about that. My parents are nagging me to get good grades. They want me to get a good job, be a big success, you know?
God, John. So many people are starving. Homeless, you mean you'd rather go out and make a lot of money than help them?
I don't think it's either or. I can help people and still have a good career. I'll donate money or do what I can in my spare time.
We always have a lot of fun, too. We have a party afterwards, great food, and I'd really like to get to know you better, John.
I hope you have a good time, but I need to stay home tonight.
You should come.
Look, I just don't have time. Is this a school club? What's it called?
We don't really have a name.
If it's not an official school club, then I'm not interested. Look, it's been nice talking to you, but I need to get back to my work. Goodbye.
There's another danger to young people. In increasing numbers, they're taking part in satanic rituals with very serious potential consequences to themselves and others. Here's therapist Lorna Goldberg speaking to a group of concerned parents about Satanism.
Most high school or college-age youngsters who practice satanic rituals are what we call dabblers. They devise their own rituals based upon what they've heard or read. And believe me, they can get a hold of this material so easily. Often kids get drawn in by playing fantasy role-playing games or listening to heavy metal rock music. That isn't to say that all heavy metal rock lovers are dabblers. These dabblers aren't part of an organized group. They perform their rituals alone and secretly. But some youngsters form groups and do the ceremonies together, and some are recruited by adult satanic groups through promises of plentiful drugs and sex and promises of gaining power. They may be blackmailed into silence and into staying in the group if they've taken part in immoral or illegal activities. Even if the young satanic practitioner is a lone dabbler, this can still be dangerous. Some teenagers have even committed suicide because of satanic involvement. A few have killed others, sometimes members of their own families.
How old are they when they start this stuff?
As young as 11.
Why do they do this? And could my child get involved?
They think they'll get power from the rituals. That's very important. When you're young and powerless in an adult-controlled world, that can be very appealing. Could your child get involved? Adolescents who are looking for magical solutions to deal with their problem are very vulnerable. We must help our youngsters develop healthy self-esteem and critical thinking skills so that they can deal with the manipulation and the enticements of these groups.
But experts say far more young people join cults than get involved in Satanism. Reverend Michael Rokas has been educating the public about cults for many years. Guy Ford's daughter was in a destructive group for 6 years.
Guy, your experience has been firsthand. What advice would you give to young people to keep them from joining harmful groups?
Well, I'd say, first of all, Mike, don't let yourselves get isolated from your friends and your normal school life. And above all, don't let your commitments to any group interfere with your relationship with your family. I know that our family went through terrible pain when our daughter withdrew from us during those 6 years. We have 5 other children, and it was really an ordeal for every member of the family when our daughter wouldn't see us and when it seemed as if she didn't love us anymore. We have her back now, but the whole experience left scars on each member of the family, scars that may never go away.
It's important for young people, I think, to keep listening and talking with their parents and other adults that they know are trustworthy, even though they're trying to grow up and become independent. Adults can help. We know what it is to go through growing pains more than young people often think. We went through them ourselves. That's part of the message you would want to bring, to talk to counselors, priests, ministers, rabbis?
Yes, by all means. It's a marvelous thing that the young folks want to help others and want to make the world a better place. We need that. But you should find constructive activities to get involved in that are sponsored by your school or your church or your synagogue youth group, organizations that you know and are familiar with.
I think it's very important that young people want to find answers and find meaning in their life. That's what a spiritual journey is all about. But it's helpful to first explore your own religious and philosophical traditions. You may find what you're looking for right there. Develop your own values, keeping your own individuality. Don't become somebody else. I think that's the important thing that we can share with young people, don't you?
I couldn't agree more, Mike.
When I say go, would you please pick up any 2 of these balls? Ready? Go. Is there any way that I could have possibly known that you would pick up the blue ball and the red ball? We didn't talk about this ahead of time. You had a completely free choice. Is that right?
Right.
Now when I say go, would you hand me one of the balls? Ready? Go. Could I have possibly known that you would end up handing me the blue ball? No, you had a free choice. And now I'd like to show you my prediction, and that is the blue ball, so you must have ESP. Now when I say go, why don't you mess me up and leave the blue ball on the table? Ready? Go. Now, if I hadn't told you to do that, we're acting now. It's not like Hamlet or something, but we're acting. I didn't tell you to do that. I could say, is there any way that I could have possibly known that you would leave the blue ball on the table? You had a completely free choice. And now I'd like to show you my prediction, and that is the blue ball, so you must have ESP. You see, I can make it come out any way I want. People can still be manipulated, even though they have a free choice. You can always go back. So you can always take time to think about something or say no, and then go back if you change your mind, okay? But lots of times people put us under pressure by giving us those forced choices. When someone says, let's go do this, you can say, let's go do this. Remember that no is a complete sentence.
Unfortunately, there is no instant happiness. There are no instant answers to problems and questions about the meaning of life. There is no free lunch. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Take the advice of Jeannie Mills, a woman who escaped the suicide murders at Jonestown in November 1978, only to be mysteriously shot a year later. Jeannie Mills said, "When you meet the friendliest people you've ever known, who introduce you to the most loving group of people you've ever encountered, and you find the leader to be the most inspired, caring, compassionate, and understanding person you've ever met, and then you learn that the cause of the group is something you never dared hope could be accomplished, and all of this sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true." Don't give up your education, your hopes, and ambitions to follow a rainbow.
Be alert, be cautious, and use common sense.
Develop your own values, keeping your own individuality. Don't become somebody else.
If you don't control your mind and your life, somebody else will.
Remember, saying no is a decision you have the right to make. Above all, have confidence in yourself and your own opinions and instincts. They're often right.